Hello everybody, welcome back to the WTF1 podcast. Today we are talking about the Hungarian Grand Prix from, how do you say, well, you went there, Jess. How do you say the place that you
Budapest.
were? Not Budapest, but there's like Hungarian words.
Oh,
that one.
Yeah,
thanks for that.
Yeah, got that. Yeah.
I'm Matt.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Jess.
And we are here to talk about a pretty decent race. You have to say it was quite the strategy fest. Mm-hmm. Jess, as I mentioned, you were out there at Hungary.
I was.
How was it?
It was really good, actually. It's a cracking Grand Prix.
A cracker.
Cracking Grand Prix. I know everyone always worries that it's one not for overtaking, but Budapest is amazing. If you've not been to Budapest, and whether you go for the Grand Prix or not, go to Budapest because it's an amazing city. And the racetrack is actually... it's decent. Like it's actually a really good place to be. It has a good vibe to it.
Did you get to go around a lot of it?
We did. I was mainly in the paddock, but we went out into the fan zones. I know. We went out into the fan zones, and the track's in a basin, so it's got like a natural amphitheatre vibe to it. So all the grandstands are like above the racetrack, so you can see so much from most of the grandstands, which is really, really cool. And the way I'd describe it is like it's got kind of Spa vibes for me to it. Not obviously Spa's one off, but in terms of it's got that raw sense to it of there's not much there. Like the fan zones are awesome, but it's not like a Abu Dhabi or Kota. It's got more like that, like kind of rough, rustic.
Well, they stick up a few stands and away you go.
Yeah,
It's quite an old school track now that people forget.
Exactly,
the longest running consecutive track after Monza and Monaco.
Really?
All right, stat man.
There you go. There's a stat for you.
Because you're very tired, and yet you've just dropped that out of absolutely nowhere. I'm very proud of you, Tommy.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
But yeah, it's got that raw vibe, and it's not over commercialized.
Exactly
in the sense
that.
of, all the stands and stuff.
There's a lot of focus on the racing, I think.
Nice.
And there were tons of Max fans and tons of Kubica fans, which was really nice as well, because we did the pit lane walk on the Thursday, and we were saying how it was really funny because there was no one outside Mercedes and everyone outside Williams.
Amazing.
Which is you just don't get anywhere else. So and because they'd obviously come off winning their point, that must have been quite nice.
They must be the most passionate fans going, and that's against the Dutch, who are extremely passionate as well. But considering Kubica is finishing last most of the time, I know he had that point in Germany, but it's pretty cool to see that they see past the results and they're supporting Robert Kubica, who has had a very tough time. So
exactly.
It's nice to have him back, of course. Right, let's talk about the Hungarian Grand Prix then. Some 3-word race reviews from some fans. Lex Lucy, tyres are dead. Aria 917_X, Max it's James, Gadi Jimenez _5, Mercedes Strategy Masterclass, and finally Anonymous, not Anonymous, Anonymous 1-1. Another boring race. Had 799 likes on our Instagram. People are thinking the Hungarian Grand Prix. I'm not coming out and saying it was an absolute worldie. It was not a banger. It was not a Germany. But it was a good race. And I feel like people's expectations have kind of gone through the roof after Germany. And they're like, well, we have to have 78 pit stops every single race. Otherwise, it's boring. But
I saw that. I saw people saying, even when we tweeted, that was a good race. I'd say it was a great race.
Yeah, I'd say it's a great race.
As much as saying a great race, but people were jumping on it straight away going, well, it's not as good as Hockenheim. It's like, didn't say it was as good as Hockenheim.
Oh my goodness
just
me.
Great race.
So that actually brings into my 3-word race review, which was it wasn't boring, because the race was really good. You had, I think the beginning of it wasn't particularly exciting, obviously apart from the first couple of laps, but you had Verstappen very much measuring or having the measure of Hamilton, although Hamilton did start to close in towards the end of the first stint, and you had a bit of a battle there. But the strategy element, which I think that some people seem to almost miss in a lot of the races that we've had this year, and they can't seem to sort of tap into how interesting that actually is. Maybe that's a lack of understanding. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I was kind of sat there like, well, Hamilton is right behind. Is he going to go? Is he going to pit? There was a lot to kind of be had. And as soon as he pit at the end of the race, it was game on. It was a cat and mouse kind of chase. And I really enjoyed it. And I didn't find... I mean, to be fair, there was elements of it being boring, but what Formula 1 race are going to have 70 laps of side-by-side action?
Yeah, what I really liked about it was the fact that, like you say, about the race being a strategic race, we've had 4 really good races in a row, and for me, they've all been very different.
Yeah.
Austria, you had a fight back for victory. Silverstone was all about the wheel-to-wheel racing. Germany was just wet weather chaos. And then Hungary, again, completely different, and it all just came down to strategy and tyre management.
Yeah, agreed. I think I agree with Matty in that maybe it is a case. I actually quite liked the Amazon data graphics because they were talking. Well, I didn't. Like I did because I think they are new for the kind of new era of F1 in that before it would just be whatever the commentators were telling you, whereas this is kind of trying to visualize strategy, which so I think is a step in the right direction. It wasn't perfect.
It's the wording. I think it's the wording of, is it strike zone?
Strike distance.
Strike distance.
What does that mean?
It's
very American.
Almost, yeah.
And then it said, I swear they got it wrong in one of them because it came up striking distance last lap, and then it came up again and said striking distance 10 laps, and it was like they just changed the wording mid-race, and I was like, okay, which one is it? You know?
Do you remember when they said when they first put up the wording for the virtual safety car though? Because they worded it in a way that had to be like increase lap time, which is what they meant, but it what they were meaning to say is that the cars have to slow down.
Yeah,
not
go faster.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. I think wording has a big play into it, but it was still cool to try and show strategy visually rather than kind of not say anything about it or rely on the commentators. And
I agree. I genuinely do like the attempt to
there was
make.
Attempt.
Oh yeah, it is an attempt, albeit potentially not the perfect way. But it's nice to see that they're trying to. Because it is quite as we've mentioned many times, it is very difficult to understand Formula 1 when you tune in, and those kind of things will help. Obviously, they had that thing before where, remember, we had about 20 mini sectors. That was another thing in qualifying where they were trying to almost every corner.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, which overcomplicated things. Yep. But I like the fact they're trying things. If it doesn't work, they get rid of it. And,
they actually have that. So we were sat in the media centre, and they do have that. The like mini sectors, so the sectors broken down in mini sectors. But agreed, I think that's too much information for someone sat at home.
They have to be careful going too much into where you just know exactly what's going to happen. That was my initial thing that I personally didn't like, where they predict the gaps, because I don't really want to know that there's a 53% chance. I'd rather wait and have the excitement of going, isn't he going to come out ahead? That's interesting.
I disagree with that because I think that it's actually good to have that sort of overview when you're watching the race and you can't maybe you can't work out or you don't know how long it takes to be in the pit lane, and then you have that graphic come up. Okay, it's got a 57% chance. That's not telling me that he is or he isn't going to get past.
No, I meant if they go to the point where they go too over the top with it, and it's basically telling you everything that's going to happen.
Yeah, which I think in qualifying they definitely did with that too much information.
And they went back, which is fair.
Yeah, which is great. But I think they're on the right lines. It just needs a bit of tweaking. So yeah, back to the race. We got a question from Baldy Mark 05. Do you think Max should have pitted the lap after Hamilton, and would he have got back past him if he had been behind? Now, my opinion on this is that Red Bull were stuck no matter what they did. They were in the lead. They couldn't react to Hamilton because he was behind. Yeah. He was the quicker car. And I think Christian Horner came over and said we would have lost the position to Hamilton. I think with a Red Bull 1.8 second pit stop, they might have been all right. And it would have been pretty touch and go because Hamilton was, I think, a second and a half quicker and was around a second. But then he had was it 2.4 second pit stop? Was it
2.6? Yeah.
Which one was the 4 second pit stop?
So I feel like his first stop was quite a slow pit stop.
Was it the first stop that was?
His first stop was quite a slow pit stop.
Okay, yeah.
But the Mercedes guys dummied a couple of times, didn't they?
Which
you're not allowed to do.
Technically not allowed to do, but it would probably be a team fine or something.
And they're like, well, what's that? We could potentially win the race.
Yeah. So. And they kept throwing it out there, and I didn't see the 2-stop coming personally, but
because that's when they started the race, and they were talking to Pirelli on the grid walk, and they were talking about they reckon the medium's going to go for about like 25 to 30 laps, and then the rest of it will be on hards. I remember just sat there and going, oh, one stopper. This is going to be so dull. And then as soon as they didn't and they went for a two stopper, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hello.
People were quite critical of it, weren't they, when they first did it? A lot of people were saying, well, that was stupid. It was quite interesting that Hamilton was saying they were both being quite pessimistic. Verstappen was on the radio saying, I've lost this race now. You screwed me. We should have pitted. And Hamilton was doubting his own team that was the right call to make. And I mean, I understand why people didn't think it was going to happen, because he wasn't taking a huge amount of time out of him at the start. Yeah. Because the first stint, I thought Hamilton was going to do it easily, because in the first stint, as soon as Hamilton pitted, and something they didn't actually cut to very quickly until he was right on his gearbox, but Hamilton took about a 6-second lead out of Verstappen in the middle of the race. Yeah. When he came out the pits, he flew straight up behind him. So as soon as he got on new tyres, I think the Mercedes was just the better car. Yeah,
because they were warning Max, weren't they? Like, he's going to start using the best of his tyres now, so be prepared to fight. And he did. And the thing is that people said that, why didn't Red Bull pit? It's all in hindsight. And if they had done, and Max had lost the position, everyone would have been like, why did you do that? Why on earth would he do that?
Just stay on track.
You had a 20-second lead.
Track position's key.
Track position is key. And then they would have looked really stupid, because you'd have gone, why have they just sacrificed a race win? Because then Verstappen wouldn't have been able to get past Hamilton.
I think Mercedes and Hamilton were spot on. I don't know how much Hamilton knew about this whole pushing Verstappen quite hard, but I feel like Mercedes thought to themselves, okay, we can push Verstappen as hard as he possibly can, make him wear out the tyres that he's on, and then they can just pit fresh tyres and fly past. Either they have to cover him, which they couldn't do, or they have to stay out and they're a sitting duck. So I think that's what they said in the cool-down room when James was chatting to Vettel, and Vettel was, you pitted twice. And he said, we pushed Verstappen really hard, and then we just pitted and got him. And so clearly it was in their thinking.
It was all mind games as well. Yeah. Because I remember, because Max, at the end of the first stint, was coming on the radio going, my tyres are gone, I've got no grip, I need to pit. And he kept going like, I'm going to say it one more time, guys, I've got no grip. But then you heard Hamilton a little later on going, oh, my tyres are fine. Yeah. And I remember thinking, are your tyres? I mean, to be fair, tyre management-wise, it looked like the Mercedes was a little better on
and the
degradation.
Fact that they were following as well, which usually they're not able to do as well.
Yeah, of course.
So Hamilton changed his tune quite quickly after that, didn't he?
But I'm sure that was a bit of mind gameplay, which Hamilton seems to be pretty savvy to.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying about maybe it's something people don't understand for racing, because they see a Hockenheim where everyone's passing each other at every corner. I think that's what makes a great race. What made Hungary good was the unknown between the drivers, the teams, because at first it looked like Mercedes, if they'd stayed with the one stop, you would have said, well, Mercedes did an awful strategy because they didn't even attempt the undercut, and then they left Hamilton out, and that was realistically their only chance to win until they did the two-stop.
Yeah.
So absolutely. It was always changing, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, and it really was. Another question, AJ Matty says, do you think DRS ruined a potentially good battle between Max and Lewis at the end? Max's tyres were dead, but they might have had to race for Lewis to get by through turn 1, 2, 3. I don't personally kind of see the point in this question, purely because it's talking about DRS as a whole. It's not as if, DRS usually helps racing, and it usually isn't as artificial as that. But at the end of the day, that wasn't down to DRS as such. That was down to the fresh tyres and him being able to brake so much later, as we saw, and he just swooped all the way around the outside. And Verstappen had absolutely no grip. And it's not as if Lewis was sat behind him for 5-10 laps, chilling out, just sitting with DRS. It wasn't any of that. So
he would have been a sitting duck anyway, because his tyres were so screwed. Yeah. And it's one of those things, I think we had a little chat about it earlier, where you say, DRS exists. Yeah. It's a thing.
It's either have all of it or none of it.
Exactly. You can't just say, oh, we should turn DRS off now because this would make this battle so much better. If we didn't have DRS, we might not have had, the awesome Toro Rosso battle where they were going side by side through.
Or Lando going around the outside of Magnussen and things like that, where they were side by side. The car was able to brake maybe that little bit later, although Magnussen, I think, was on pretty dead tyres himself. But yeah, I think DRS, you need DRS, especially in Hungary, around, it's only there in the next corner, isn't it? Which that second DRS zone is pretty pointless, to be honest. It doesn't really do much. But hey, I think DRS is all good. You in agreement, Jess?
Yeah, I think I agree too.
Cool. Right, Tommy, your race review, please.
Well done, stewards.
Why do you mean that? Talk to me.
So this isn't sarcastic like some people might think, because we have definitely laid into the stewards a little bit on previous podcasts.
Yeah.
But people have listened to quite a few will remember me in the French Grand Prix where my review was Let Them Race.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were mixed on thinking I was either insane or, yes, I understand your point. And I feel like the stewards have started to do that now. That I don't think there was a single moment that was under investigation for the whole race, and you had quite a lot of incidents, quite a lot of side-by-side racing.
Yeah.
Even
was
just,
there none?
even
Was
just,
there none
I don't think there was any investigations the entire race.
I think you're right. I think because it was said no investigation needed.
So I've listed
no
their
further
incidents,
investigation. Yeah,
and I think it was so. If you go back to 4 races ago, I think all of these would have been investigated. So Hamilton hitting Bottas at the start, like having that slight bit of contact.
Yeah. I don't think that would
Leclerc
be
hitting
personally.
Bottas.
That one would
that one was a
Magnussen and
cheeky
Ricciardo.
move. That was.
Yeah, well, got a question for that one.
Oh, okay.
So I've got a question for that one. And the 2 Toro Rossos, I mean, 4 races ago, I reckon they would have gone under investigation and said that Kvyat had pushed Albon wide onto that curb and didn't leave him enough room.
God,
and it's just so much better when they let them get on with it.
I think they may have even looked at not that bit, but when Kvyat ran wide and he essentially went off the track when they were side by side and then gained the position. So just before turn 4, he ran wide off of turn 3, continued his run and took the position. So
I just feel like they're making more sensible calls, letting them race. And it's something that happened in Austria. You know, the Charles and Max battle was so good, but it definitely dampened it when you have an investigation straight after it. Yeah. And if that Toro Rosso battle had happened and then there'd been an investigation, it wouldn't have seemed as special. You'd have been like, oh, that's a bit of a shame.
So let's, Jess very briefly mentioned this one particular incident. Asagi_Hazumi. So do you guys think Leclerc deserved a penalty for his collision with Bottas?
No. I don't know. It was... Because when I saw it, I remember thinking like, why? Yeah, why has he cut back that aggressively?
I mean, I tweeted saying I'm surprised that hasn't been
looked at.
At least looked at.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure why it wasn't looked at least. I mean, it was because they just said no further action. But yeah, but I'm kind
was it investigated? Because you just said that nothing was investigated, Tommy.
It wasn't investigated, and there's a reason why they didn't investigate it. Well, they did investigate it, but there's a reason why he didn't get a penalty.
Okay.
So it was investigated.
So there was something investigated.
They didn't announce it was investigated. The stewards looked at it and said no.
Okay.
Fine. So they don't do the thing.
What turns it into an investigation?
It's weird because it's almost like they don't want to press the button that tells the TV graphics, by the way, this is under investigation. They just seem to decide it.
So do they have a pre-investigation where they investigate and then they investigate? Like, how does it work?
Maybe investigation is just a way to say, okay, we're really looking into this now.
Might be in trouble
we
here.
couldn't make an immediate decision.
Yeah.
And maybe immediate decisions they don't.
And then they get the lottery wheel out for yes or no.
But the reason was, even though it does very much look like, because I was the same. I was like, what is Charles doing? He's just cut in front of him there. He doesn't change his line at all. If you watch the top-down view, he's coming around the corner. And it is, I mean, to be fair, it's a weird line because why he'd take the inside of turn 4, fast turn 4 anyway is an odd one. But he does just go straight. And he doesn't turn the steering wheel. He's just constantly going over to towards Bottas. And he's got so much more overspeed that he's just going to go past Bottas.
Right.
You'd argue that he should have been a bit more sensible because Bottas was never going to go up the inside of turn 4 anyway. It just needless contact. But that was the reason that the stewards explained why he didn't get a penalty.
Yeah, I've looked at it and I genuinely think he was very lucky to not get a penalty. But hey,
especially because he caused damage and
ruined race.
Bottas's race.
Bottas got bullied at the start.
He did. I mean,
Bottas got bashed. Yeah, he did.
Continue.
He just wasn't confident at all on the brakes. We saw it throughout the race pretty much. He kept locking up into turn 1, turn 2. You saw that with a few drivers, but it seemed to be him that was constantly locking up the first few laps. and he just didn't seem particularly at one with the car, despite having a decent qualifying, although Hamilton had problem with his DRS going to the line at least. I don't know if he had it throughout the whole lap, but do you know that? Do you know if he had a problem with... No. But I know he had at least on the run down to the finish line, so probably would have started P2. But
I feel like Bottas, and it's something Dan wrote in one of our articles on the website, while he wanted to be aggressive, there's very much part of him that's thinking, my seat is under threat here. I crashed in the last race. I don't want to crash into Hamilton. The last thing I want to do is crash into Hamilton. And while he gave him...
And it was close.
He gave him space, probably too much space. Hamilton was always going to bully him off the track and win that fight. But there was definitely part of him where he didn't go as hardcore because... I mean, if he'd have crashed, that would have been his seat gone.
He kept his foot in through turn 3.
He left him too much room though, on the outside.
Clipped Hamilton's left rear.
He left him too much room though for turn 3.
Oh yeah. For turn 3, yeah. But he was kind of out of position because he'd locked up, and so then he had less speed, and Hamilton was already there.
Both
turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, he looked very out of control. Under pressure.
So, yeah, there we go. Jess, your 3-word race review is...
Kind of linking to that, but silly season pressure. I think now we're in the summer break. There were a few...
Boo, by the way. Boo to summer break. What do we do for 3 weeks?
But there were a few drivers in particular that are obviously under more pressure than others.
Who would that be? Who would that be, Jess? Just
who could that be?
Maybe,
off the top of your head.
Maybe Mr. Valtteri Bottas is one of them. And the other being obviously Pierre Gasly. 2 drivers that we have spoken about
in every podcast.
Yes, in terms of their performance and whether they should be at the seat or in the seats that they are currently occupying. But as we get closer and closer to the mid-season, which we're in now, where usually teams start announcing contracts and renewals or changes or anything, it's this race is not an easy race to go into, I think, because it sets the tone. Like you've then got 3 weeks of nothing and silence and no way to kind of prove any more. Like this is the last moment for you to prove that you're meant to be in that race.
Do you feel like that's put more pressure on Bottas, the fact that he would have had pressure on going into the summer break anyway, but the fact that Toto Wolff has actively said we are going to be deciding between him and Ocon at the summer break, do you think that's got into Bottas's mind in those last 2 races and gone, I need to have 2 epic races here?
Potentially.
I would imagine so, right? And then he's had 2 appalling races.
Maybe overthinking or...
It's really weird because at the start of the season he was performing really, really well. And
when he was Bottas 2.0.
And we were all kind of laughing and joking, Ocon's going to be really sad. He's watching Valtteri Bottas get pole, win a few races somewhere in the championship fight. And now we're going, Bottas might lose his seat again. It's crazy how the tables can turn so quickly. And still think he's going to win the championship. Just looking at me with judgmental eyes. But yeah, I think, well, to be fair, in my predictions, I was watching my pre-season prediction video that we did. I did say that Ocon would get announced
Monza.
by
Monza.
By Monza.
You said Monza.
Could happen.
So we got they've said
that needs to be re-memed.
They've said during the break. So, but maybe if he has, I think. So this is an interesting one. So, as much as everybody knows my thoughts on Bottas and who should be in that second Mercedes seat. I don't think I think they'll renew his contract for another year.
Yeah, me too.
So do I. He's a good second fiddle.
Well, he's not, because I think it was Christian Horner that it was David Coulthard that raised a good point on the Channel 4 coverage, which was when you're a number 2 driver, or when you are in a racing scenario, if your teammate is challenging for the win, your job is there to be wingman, which he has done before.
And got called.
Yeah, but he wasn't in this race, and because
he's not been told that.
And neither was Gasly. So actually, they were talking about those two drivers were not playing their number 2 position roles very well because they weren't in the mix. I
guess Bottas wasn't his fault though, really, in that race that he got sideswiped. I know he didn't have
then he had a poor
amazing
start.
Yes,
and
he had
then he ran wide.
He had a poor start.
Trying to get
he
Hamilton.
made two lockups on the first lap, got into 2 collisions, and lost every wheel-to-wheel battle that he went into.
At the very least, he'd lost the position to Charles.
Yeah.
And then he just got swallowed up because of the damage. And
he didn't exactly carve his way through the field in what was arguably the best car. Yeah, but he took a long time to get past people like Ricciardo, which with a huge advantage.
But you have to kind of, I guess that advantage is obviously a lot less when you're in traffic, and the car ahead also has DRS and things like that, you know. And the Mercedes, we know, isn't particularly good at following cars.
And that track is not conducive to fight back. So, I mean, they're all. That's the thing. We've spoken about this before. You need luck as much as you need to have talent, and one of those instances maybe he could have got away with it, but because they all came at once.
And right before the summer break, I mean, what a time to
have one of your worst races.
Yeah, if he'd had it at the start of the season, even if we'd have got to that point where he was really far off Hamilton in the championship still, but then won these last 2 races, people would be like, "Oh, well, he deserves it." You're almost only as good as your last race sometimes in Formula One. People remember that.
But he put himself there. So
he did. He had a bad start. He got passed by Hamilton, then ran wide. Charles got past, and if he'd had a better start, then to be fair, Verstappen looked like he was under pressure to turn 1, and it turned out that Bottas was the one losing all the positions. So
yeah,
I mean, like you were saying about Bottas being number 2. I mean, if he'd been told he was number 2, then I'd see it a little bit more. But the fact that those 2 are racing let Verstappen get away at the start, and that's not what Mercedes need.
Yeah.
But then the argument is, if they go for Ocon, I think Ocon would challenge Hamilton more, and they don't want a Nico Rosberg situation.
But they also want to wrap up the constructors,
which they will easily this year.
I think. Well, as long as we don't get any more of these scenarios happening, which
I think they've won the constructors though anyway. Surely, I mean, Ferrari need a 1-2 in every race for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but they don't want it to take it any further than it has to go. You know, like they don't want to drag it out. They want to wrap it up as soon as possible, because then that's job done. Like everyone gets their bonus and they get all the money. So
job done.
Job done. And at this rate, it's not going to be that easy. I think you're right. You know, they've got so many points in the bag. Gasly's nowhere to help Red Bull. Ferrari were absolutely nowhere.
Pierre Gasly, what about him? Well,
they said he wouldn't replace him mid-season, but he just seems to be getting worse instead of better, right?
Silverstone was a good example, I say a good example. It was one of the only examples of him being and showing a bit of potential, a bit of form, but I can't see him lasting the season purely because of Red Bull's ethos with previous drivers. It seems only fair for someone else to have a shot. If they've got someone lined up, if they don't, then fine, give Gasly the whole season. But for me, he is nowhere. It's not like he's even close. He's getting lapped again by his teammate.
You think that Austria was that time where that can never happen again, you're getting lapped by your teammate, and then for it to happen again 4 races later. Did you see his qualifying lap?
No.
Compared to, say, someone put online, I don't know if you saw it,
no,
Verstappen versus Gasly comparison, and within 2 corners you can tell that he's not got any confidence in the car. Max is so smooth, just turning one movement every time with the steering wheel, and Gasly is wrestling it into the turns. It's so apparent.
It's such a strange scenario that I don't think many people saw that this would happen when we came into this season. At Vidarth17 says, who is the most likely replacement for Gasly at this point in time?
That's their problem. They don't have any replacements really, other
than a promotion,
other than the Toro Rosso boys. And there was discussion with Christian Horner about, would it be better for Pierre to go, and I think we mentioned it actually on a previous podcast, go back to Toro Rosso, build up his confidence again, have him in a place where he's comfortable, and
where the expectation is a lot lower,
and then maybe switch him back around. But I think once
you go, you're done.
Unless you're Kvyat. And
if Kvyat got promoted back up, then that's that's a message to Gasly to say it's not over.
But that's
for
the
you.
thing. Kvyat was nowhere near as slow or as bad as what Gasly is showing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
So that's why I'm concerned.
He was a bit more crashy.
A bit more crashy, yeah, but Gasly's going slow, so he can't crash.
Well, but slow still is points.
Yeah.
And crashy is no points, and also having very angry other teams with whoever you've crashed into coming at you,
it causes
which
more dilemmas,
is a difficult situation. You don't really want either of them, but at least points are points.
I think they'll keep him for the end of the year, regardless of his.
They
results.
won't replace him.
They won't replace him until the end of the year, and then I think Albon will get the seat.
Albon.
Yes.
You reckon Kvyat won't be trusted?
I don't think Kvyat works in part of the junior program, and the reason that I don't think they've done it mid-season is because Kvyat got that podium. It's thrown a bit of a curveball, but I think Albon has more overall potential, and I think next season don't you think
they might feel a bit
bad for Kvyat?
No.
Oh, right.
Do you not think they think it'll be another risk? Because obviously they risked it with Gasly. Well, no, they didn't really. They didn't have another choice apart from Gasly to put into that seat.
Yeah.
So again, it was a little bit like I'm getting the same vibe, not the same vibes, but similar vibes with Bottas. Right? Mercedes had no choice but to put Bottas in that seat.
Late notice.
Red Bull had no choice but to put Pierre in that seat. And whilst both of them are, and I will say it, both of them are adequate drivers. In Pierre's case, maybe it was. Well, I think in both their cases, it was too soon, and I think they will be wary to put another young driver, even though they've got Max, who obviously is young.
Yeah.
They will be wary to put another young driver into the mix because I think it really stunts their potential. It completely stunts their potential because, one, you're going up against Max Verstappen, which, similarly, Bottas is going up against Lewis Hamilton. You know, these are the two best
career
drivers.
Killers.
And career killers, yeah, you're completely right.
It's like Van Dorn with Alonso, right?
Exactly that. And they're not going to pump all this money into these drivers to bring them into F1 to then just see them die after a season.
I guess I would disagree.
I don't think they'll do Albon.
I personally disagree. That I think that Red Bull, their whole tactic is to just find megastars, and they did it with Ricciardo. As soon as Webber retired, they threw Ricciardo in there, and it worked.
I guess they take the punt, don't they? Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does.
But when it's not worked for you,
I think it's about 50-50, right? Like Verstappen worked, Ricciardo worked, Vettel definitely worked. Yeah. Gasly didn't, Kvyat didn't.
I mean, they're not risk averse, are they, Red Bull? No. So maybe you're right.
They go ham.
Maybe they'd just be more cautious. I get the sense of being more cautious because otherwise they'd have just thrown Gasly out by now, like they did with Kvyat, but they've not. And I think it's because they said it will scare off any other young driver that ever wants to get picked up by Red Bull. Yeah. The idea, that pressure, it's like probably one of the most high pressure jobs in the entire world. But I don't know. I mean, Tommy, you know Red Bull a little better than I do.
Right. Well, we can revisit this when the end of the season or mid-season, depending on what happens. I'm going to say that they'll.
What's your
choose
prediction?
Kvyat. They'll choose Kvyat and put him in the seat.
I agree.
Give him a second chance.
Ooh, okay.
He's a father. He's a new man. Who knows?
Please.
Yes. On to Ferrari now. Let's talk a little bit about them. We've mentioned the Charles incident, but in general, they were just a little bit, very slow. Very slow. Were nowhere. I was correcting myself. Very slow. They finished. Well, there's a question here. JP Barbosa 2001 says, "Why did Ferrari finish 1 minute behind the Mercedes car? Why? We want answers.
Why?
Now we're not engineers. We're not in the know with Ferrari, but by the looks of things, it just was a track that did not suit their car whatsoever. They lack downforce. I think Jack Aitken said it in Internet's Best Reactions. They are very much speed reliant. They'll do well at tracks like Monza, Spa, and Hungary is all about downforce.
It's the opposite.
And
to what they
there
need.
is nowhere for their speed to be utilised.
They were nowhere in Monaco, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't anywhere near challenging at the front.
And Hungary is the Monaco of.
The Monaco without the walls, as they like to say all the time.
Yeah, there is walls.
Monaco without walls. Is that what they say about Hungary?
All the time.
Something like that.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
But did you see the Autosport headline?
No.
I sent it to Tommy. Let me see if I can find it. But basically, they put like an Instagram image up of one of their headlines that basically just said, it was just something like Ferrari successfully adds downforce to the SF90.
Right.
And it's like
you just turn it up on an F1 game.
Yeah.
Or you know,
just get an upgrade.
Like they didn't have it before.
Yeah.
Like successfully adds downforce. I know
before it had no force.
It's just a headline,
but now it has downforce
thing. But it really tickled me. And then obviously it didn't work because they had none in Hungary. So
yeah, it's just down to that track, because people will maybe be confused why, you know, Ferrari were there in winter testing. You're going to get triggered now. Winter testing, and you know they were seen to be the team to beat. And can you believe that going into the summer break and they've not won a race after
Bahrain?
After Bahrain, they've not won a race.
That still hurts.
Yeah.
Whilst we're still talking about Ferrari, Tommy, I hope you're getting ready a particular thing that you need to play. Because I'm about to announce it, and I'll give you a few seconds. Okay. But Ferrari, I mean, yeah, I've run out of Ferrari things to say. I'm just waiting for the jingle. But
interesting though. I mean, again, sorry, just one more point on Ferrari before we get into the jingle. That Ferrari applied the same strategy with Vettel as Mercedes did with Hamilton, and
apart from Vettel went on the softs.
Yes, softs instead of medium, but they were later into the race, so fewer laps to do on those
Vettel
softs.
only gave him a 5 out of 10. I saw in the post press conference. He only gave himself a 5 out of 10. Yeah, so which means we have to give him like a C.
But that was for the season, no?
That was for the season.
Oh, was it?
That was a season review.
Okay.
So he's given himself a 5 out of 10 for the season so far. What do the others give each other?
Verstappen refused to rate himself, and Hamilton said 8.8 or 8.9.
8.9. I mean,
of course, he goes into points.
Yeah, Verstappen said it reminds me too much of school, which wasn't long ago. And then
that was it.
Yeah.
Was that a dig at Hamilton?
We need to get, you know, if we ever get into a press conference like that, we'll just play the WTF1 jingle and then say, what would you rate yourself?
Speaking of
the jingle. Oh, God.
Now it's time for
Perfect. There we go. What a beautiful transition. Thanks, Tommy. Now it is time for ABCDEF1, and we're going to go in normal team order this time. So let's begin with Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. How would we rate his performance in the Hungarian Grand Prix? That looks like an A's coming out of your mouth. An A, an A, and an A. 3 A's. Congratulations. Valtteri Bottas.
F.
Bottas. Oh, wow.
D.
F. I'm going to go with the D.
He outqualified
F's
Hamilton, which you've got to give him a little bit of credit.
His quality, his quality was,
and the incident
was
was, you know, not necessarily his fault. A little bit of bad luck.
He did, in terms of what he's meant to do as a Mercedes driver, he completely failed.
There she is.
We'll go with a D. Let's move on from Bottas before he gets killed. Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel.
B.
B.
Yeah, B.
B.
Yeah.
B. Yeah, he got out-qualified by Charles and then beat Charles. So B.
Nice little move.
Yeah,
it wasn't really anywhere, though. I mean, apart from...
Ferrari were no, but I mean, they were together, so I guess
but
they were both on similar pace, so
beat Gasly.
Ferrari had no more than
C.
that
Maybe
in the
I
tank.
would go for a C.
B.
Why? Why a C, Jess?
Just because there wasn't really much...
We didn't see them on the camera. Like we usually say this about the midfield. We hardly saw Ferrari.
Well, because there was like their own like upper midfield.
Yeah,
we had
Ferrari,
we had the top guys.
1.5 they were.
Yeah,
and then everyone else was Formula 2.
Why do you sound like Yoda then?
1.5
they were.
1.5 they were.
Yeah, I feel like Vettel got a podium.
Fine, B.
It's
got to be. It's got to beat Charles.
Okay.
And Charles Leclerc will go with a
C,
C, but then he out-qualified Vettel and got beaten by
he got beaten by him and clumsy.
Crashed in quali.
Crashed in quali.
We'll give him a C. And he did crash into Bottas, and I felt like
have you noticed how Charles always talks to himself in the third person?
He gets
Come
very
on, Charles.
angry at himself.
Actually, he calls himself Charles, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe that
Charles.
Charles.
Yeah.
So
Come on, Charles.
Maybe
you've been saying it the whole.
We all have been saying it the wrong way. It's just my nickname.
But
for him.
Matty, you've been saying it wrong.
I'm just passionate, not a fanboy, so it doesn't really matter.
I thought a passionate.
Red Bull. Max Verstappen. A.
Easy.
If he had a 1, it would have been an A star.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Pierre Gasly.
F.
F. Get out. What?
No, I'm going to say
I'm
going to say an F, but I find it weird. Well, okay, yeah, no, he did do worse than Bottas. F.
Every race is just
not in terms of where he finished,
but
in terms of like overall weekend performance. Although he was pretty quick in practice.
Oh, good. That's where points are scored.
Well,
that's like saying he was good in winter testing.
Yeah.
Fine.
F.
Renault, Daniel Ricciardo.
I feel like Daniel Ricciardo has lost his head a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Why?
So he did the unwritten rule of overtaking people behind, when they're queuing to start their qualifying lap.
Yeah.
So he overtook, ran the outside, screwed his lap, and Perez, understandably, was fuming.
Well, no, he stayed in front, didn't he? Perez
accelerated because he didn't expect him to be going around the outside of him. Accelerated out, but
it was a ridiculous queue. It was
a ridiculous queue, but it's something you're not meant to really do. And I feel like without
that happened in, was it China the year before or this year? I can't remember.
Max,
yeah.
Where
and he went
Max
mad,
got
didn't
screwed,
he?
and Max
because
got
I actually
really
missed
annoyed.
qualifying. Was this right at the end though? Was this like limit on the limit, or was there time for everyone to get over the line?
I think there was time, but people were backing up.
Yeah.
It was tight, and he was like, "Screw this, I'm going." He got very angry at Magnussen as well. He was, giving him the middle finger at the end of the race.
Was being a bit naughty.
Magnussen was a complete and utter dick. He got a warning from race control. He got a warning from race control to say, stop moving under braking. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I feel like Ricciardo does need the summer break a little bit to...
I think he's just maybe even struggling to transition to the fact that he is now not going to be on the podium and he is in a car that is going to be getting
even though he's banking for 2021 and the new regulation changes, it must be so difficult. One, where they are and not even the best of the midfield now, McLaren are, and the fact that Max is already winning races in the Honda.
Yeah. He would have been sold this dream that Renault would at least have said to him, we're going to be the best of the rest, surely.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have moved otherwise.
His pockets are lined at
least. I'm sure he's not struggling down the supermarket or anything, but at the same time, he's probably, as a racer, he doesn't want to be fighting blooming Magnussen for 16th or whatever it was. So, let's rate him now, though. He finished 14th in the end.
I'd give him a D.
D for Daniel.
Yeah. D for Daniel. Nico Hülkenberg, he had power issues.
That's how it works.
Where did he finish?
12th,
because he was running in 10th, I think, before his power unit issues.
C?
Yeah, because he kind of like dropped way back, didn't he? There was a moment where I was like, is he stopping? Because he was just falling down, and then managed to at least finish P12. But just again, not like a D. That's a D for me.
A D, okay.
I think just like not. It's just again like
I wouldn't give him as worse as Daniel.
They just weren't anything. They went anywhere.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as Daniel.
C.
So probably C.
But I don't know.
It's a C minus.
A C for me is finishing in the points,
where did
doing a lot
start?
with not a lot,
or finishing fourth in a Ferrari.
He started 11th and finished P12.
But he had power unit issues, so you kind of have to take that into account.
All right,
when grading.
Outvoted.
Haas, Roman Grosjean
didn't finish.
Qualified 9th.
He was running not great.
They didn't crash. They let each other go.
Yeah, very proud.
Fair play. Proud moment.
Well done, you did your job.
Yeah, you let each other through. I bet there was a few laps of no, I'm not going to. Yeah. No, I'm not going to. Okay. Crofty said a funny thing about crashing Magnussen's reception. Was that something? Or was it the way around? Who's getting married?
Well, Grosjean's already married, so I'm guessing Magnussen.
Yeah, and Crofty made a joke about Grosjean coming in and crashing his
wedding
reception. It was actually quite well delivered, and people were laughing, but I didn't laugh.
I guess you had to be there.
Yeah, you had to be there or listening or whatever, and you were listening in Hungarian, so
I had no chance.
Roman Grosjean
D. It's really hard to grade. Magnussen.
Which we say every week. We're like, we haven't seen any of these people. We're just literally basing it on qualifying.
We just need an extra letter for anonymous midfield drive.
So just for the 14.
And for Williams. Williams get their own one. Although maybe not this week. So.
No? Kevin Magnussen? Where did he finish?
C.
He finished 13th.
C.
They are just nowhere. Don't they have the same car as Australia or something? They're saying that they don't have
Grosjean is driving the same spec as Australia. Magnussen's driving
something that's really inconsistent. He said
really new with all the new updates, and they're just changing all the time.
And he said it like switches between even sessions.
Well, did you notice that Magnussen just banged in a P4 lap in Q1.
Yeah.
And then
P3, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then
he was 15th.
and then got knocked out
Yeah.
in the next session. They're so inconsistent. It's insane.
Yeah, I wonder how much longer they're going to survive. It's a bit sad, really.
Well, talking of silly season, I think Grosjean's out. I would be surprised if either of them. I think they'll probably keep hold of Magnussen, but I think Grosjean's gone.
Yeah, I do as well.
And so what they were saying is, so in terms of the moving, not to jump into silly season, are we doing a bit on silly season? No.
Go on.
I guess that was kind of my section to cover, but
That's right.
soz guys.
Don't worry.
Carry on.
Do it now.
So what they're saying is, so obviously the seats that are up for contention are Ocon. Ocon has been promised a seat for 2020. Now, where does he fit? Obviously, he's a Mercedes driver, so if Bottas comes out, then Ocon will probably slide in.
To the DMs, yeah.
So what they're also saying, Nico Hülkenberg, his contract's up for renewal. So last year they thought Ocon was going to Renault before Ricciardo swooped in. Ocon could potentially go and take Hülkenberg's seat if Hülkenberg doesn't re-sign for next year, or he could go to the Haas seat if Grosjean gets kicked out, because Haas want a good driver.
Yeah.
So they're saying that Ocon could either end up in the Mercedes, the Renault, or the Haas seat, as long as somebody drops out. And I think of all those people likely to drop out, it's Grosjean.
Yeah.
Ocon's going to be the sort of first move that when he gets his seat, everything will start to change. You know that.
But for that to happen, we need someone to be announced to be leaving.
Yeah, I just want him to get a seat. Don't care where he goes. Could be the Williams. Just to be fair, Robert Kubica.
Mercedes have already ruled out Russell moving to Mercedes. So if Bottas goes, it's Ocon's seat.
Yeah, but if Bottas doesn't go, and as you say, all the other teams don't move either, then Williams. I don't think Kubica will hang around. Potentially.
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe
depends on money, doesn't it? Really
depends on money.
They've got
a
lot of sponsorship.
I mean, could you see? Would Bottas go back to Williams?
God no, not a chance.
Would Bottas go to Haas?
Bottas would go and do rally driving or something.
I could. Do you know what? A part of me could see Bottas at Haas.
Bottas.
Not because they rhyme, but anyway. Okay.
Any
yeah.
more
Let's
season? Just so continue.
I think that's everybody else is pretty much signed sealed, right?
Yep. Lockdown.
Or it wouldn't make sense for anybody else to switch around. I don't know.
Ocon takes Perez's seat at Racing Point.
He brings way too much money.
That's true, actually. Yeah. Right. Let's continue with ABCD EF1. McLaren, Carlos Sainz. Whoa, were you about to say an A star? Or a B?
It's close, A star.
I think it's close to an A star.
It's very close.
Where did he qualify?
He qualified 8th and he finished P5.
He finished ahead of Gasly, and again.
Where did Lando qualify?
Does the TV director?
Lando was P7.
Yeah, no, he didn't qualify his teammates.
But can we just say, does the TV director not like Carlos Sainz?
It's ridiculous.
Because apparently he held Gasly off for the entire race, pretty much. He was talking about it on his Instagram afterwards, saying, no one saw it, but it was really good.
Why do they not show him? I don't get it.
I wonder, is the people doing race direction just not F1 fans? Just don't understand what F1 fans want to watch. I just want to watch wheel to. I don't care if it's the midfield.
But they show us Magnussen and flipping Ricciardo battling, don't they?
The most annoying thing when Hamilton was taking 3 seconds a lap out of Verstappen, and I was on our Twitter going, no one's mentioned this, but Hamilton 6 seconds,
Hamilton
3 seconds,
Hamilton behind
1.5. He's in DRS, and we're still not seeing it. Yeah. It was crazy, and that's for the lead.
Yeah.
Normally it's midfield battle. Yeah.
As we've said before, let's go try and be F1 TV directors for a race and see how it goes.
Well, did I tell you they let me in the steward's office at the weekend?
Oh, did you ask?
That's why no decisions were made.
Yeah. No, I wasn't there for any of
Just let it off. It's sharp. Don't worry. It's fine. Matt would appreciate it.
Matt, this is for you.
You were the guest steward, right?
No, I wasn't. No. I didn't actually do any stewarding, just to make that clear.
Okay, right. This was on the Friday, was it?
Saturday. So I went in just before quali, and then they let me. Well, no, I was there just before quali.
Nice.
So I got to see how everything works. And they actually brought up the Canada incident, showed me the case files for the Canada incident.
Spicy.
So they showed me all the onboards they had. They showed me
Corinne
all of the...
Chandok's analysis.
Corinne Chandok's analysis. And then they showed me the telemetry, which obviously is what changed the opinion. So yeah, that was all really
fascinating.
Fascinating
stuff.
But yeah, I was semi treated like a steward at the weekend, which was kind of cool.
Lando Norris, McLaren.
He got screwed by.
Yeah, he got screwed by that pit stop.
Yeah.
Because I think he would have finished sixth had it not been for the pit stop. And that's absolutely not his fault.
Yeah.
And he was driving pretty well up until that point.
He was. And he
went around
really
the outside
good
of Max at turn 1.
He had some really cool battles.
Yeah.
So he was proper aggressive this race. So that was cool to see.
The milkman gets a B.
All right.
Racing Point, Sergio Perez.
Yeah, tough one.
B.
Where did he finish?
He finished 11th.
He nearly got in the points. Fair play.
Yeah, in that absolute dog of a car. So, B. Yeah, B. Let's go B. Lance Stroll. Where did
he was nowhere. He finished 17th.
A very interesting thing that I looked up, which I did not realise, is that Lance Stroll is beating Sergio Perez in the championship, 18-13.
Yeah, he got that.
Yeah, but that's because he got that high up in Germany.
It don't matter. He beating his teammate in the championship. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but consistency-wise, that will soon drop off. He'll drop off unless he starts beating.
That, to be fair, again, that's
Perez
what I
needs to
predicted.
get in the points, though.
In our pre-season video, I said Lance Stroll will get beaten by Perez most of the season, but we'll have a few standout performances.
You did actually say that.
He does just.
Hey,
Matt. Do you actually know what you're talking about?
Okay.
No, I just looked into that one. Okay, so Lance Stroll, we're going to go with a C.
C,
sure. C, because we didn't see him. Alfa Romeo.
No, D. Sorry, D.
Okay, D. Sure,
yeah.
D. Okay. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen.
B or an A,
I'd
give him. He finished 7th.
7th. Yeah, he is an absolute god in that machine.
Alfa Romeo had no pace this weekend.
Yeah.
None. And he finished P7. I'd give him
that
an A.
That man is a god. A. Let's go with A.
Yeah.
Antonio Giovinazzi.
F.
Where did he finish?
18th.
Whoa.
He got damaged at the start, but
I don't care.
F.
He got squeezed.
I mean, I really do like you, Giovinazzi, but this performance has been worthy.
It wasn't a good race for him at all.
Toro Rosso, Daniel Kvyat.
C.
Yeah. C. Alex Albon.
B.
He finished in the points.
Yeah, it's a good drive from him.
Did Albon finish beat Kvyat in the end?
Yeah,
he did. He finished P10 and Kvyat finished P15. But that was strategy call.
Yeah.
Albon was on a completely different strategy from Kvyat, and it worked in his favour.
Oh, nice. Okay, Albon B then. Williams, George Russell. I'm going to give him a solid B. Sorry.
A-star.
For his qualifying.
He finished ahead of a couple of overtakes.
He finished ahead of Lance Stroll and Giovinazzi on pace. He lapped Kubica. Well, he was almost a lap ahead in terms of when they finished.
I think it was 33 seconds, I believe.
He was 0.05 or something from making Q2. That in a Williams is unbelievable. I'll take an A. But I think he's pushing A-star.
He's pushing A-star. You're doing well, George. You didn't get it this time, but maybe next time.
Keep trying. You've got to get a podium for
Robert
Williams.
Kubica, D.
Yeah, it just wasn't really anywhere.
Yeah.
He's last. Okay, let's move on to what our predictions for Hungary were. Gasly will beat Verstappen in the race, was my first one.
Incorrect.
Well, I mean, he was in front of him in terms of he was lapped.
No.
Okay, so 0. Kubica will finish 30 seconds behind Russell, which is actually true. I remember looking at the intervals and it was about 32, 33 seconds. So I was correct. So that is a big fat point for me. Jess, your 2?
Only one Mercedes on the podium.
Yeah.
Point.
Correct. And Charles DNF.
0. Pop that. I'm going to write that 0.
On,
God, I've completely ruined the. There we go. Let's put that in right there. Big on it in bold. Put it in bold. Lovely, lovely. Tommy, your 2?
Verstappen will win the race again, and there'll be over-ambitious talk about him being a title challenger.
0.
Nope.
Half a point.
You're not getting half a point.
Half.
You literally didn't win.
He was 5 laps from winning the race, and he's having talks of being a title challenger.
Which I'm very happy about.
I'm really happy, but I'm also happy you get 0.
Half a point.
You get 0 points.
Half a point for getting it wrong? Absolutely not.
Oh, God. I wish I'd never given you those 2 points.
You put not and or.
Yeah, half a point.
If you'd have put and or, there'll be over ambitious talk about being a title challenger.
You played yourself, Tommy.
Yeah, you played yourself.
Lando will finish 4th is your second one.
You picked the wrong McLaren.
I know. And I told him that before the race as well.
Wrong McLaren. Carlos didn't finish 4th.
No, but he was closer.
Okay, I was going to say.
If Lando had finished 5th, that would have been half a point.
Smooth up. Right, yeah. Okay. So Lando finished 4th. 0. I think we're actually all very close. I think Jess may have just taken the lead. We need to get that little tally. for the next podcast. Fans, MUFC_Jakes_darts says both of Renaults to DNF again. No.
Nope.
La Feyman says Verstappen will finally get pole. Yes.
What a shout that was.
That was a very good shout. And rain again, please, from Darkened.
Yes.
It rained.
Oh, yes,
specify.
It rained on Friday.
Didn't specify. Fair.
See, that's how you get points, Tommy, by making it specific.
Jess is
I'm the queen of that.
You are the queen of that. Mercedes will race next week. Next week. I failed.
No.
Nice. Predictions for Belgium. So my two, Crofty will correct people on where Eau Rouge/Radion actually is. There'll be some reference to...
Tommy, can I just say, I cannot wait for Spa.
It's my karma,
and for
isn't
you to be inundated
with messages
tags about Radion, because I tell you what, I have had nothing but tags and messages and everything just being on It's Race Week.
Can I just say, I love that someone tagged you in football are now saying it's match week.
It's match week.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Get in the bin, football.
Yeah.
My second prediction, Ferrari will be within 2/10 of pole. That was
a strange way of saying it.
Ferrari, I was like, Ferrari will finally be somewhere near the front. Yeah, Ferrari will be within 2/10 of pole, but not actually get pole.
And you think that because it's a speed track and it'll
Interesting.
Yes, I think they'll be close, but they won't be close enough. Mercedes will still get pole probably, but I'm not putting that in my prediction, just so you know. Jess, your two.
My first one is we'll see a ballsy overtake through Blanchiment.
Now, what class is ballsy? Because I feel like that's a very unmeasurable term.
Well,
like just
any overtake of Blanchiment.
Any overtake of Blanchiment.
Okay.
But I'm adding ballsy because it's ballsy to do an overtake through Blanchiment.
Okay, so it's more of just a descriptive word. Okay.
Because obviously Max is famous. I think it was 2015 he went round the outside of Blanchiment. You're the stat man.
Max fanboy.
Yes, 15.
Sure.
Ran Nasser, Felipe Nasser in the Sauber.
Okay, he does know.
And he practiced it on a video game before he did the move.
That's my point. We've got young drivers now that all play video games that are all going to go, I know the line through Blanchiment to get that done. So that's why I'm saying it. And that's why I'm not saying Max. It could be anybody. And I don't think we'll have a clean session all weekend.
When the young drivers end up upside down at Blanchiment
because they tried to go through Blanchiment. But also, it's Spa, so it's gone rain.
FP1, FP2, FP3, qualifying and Q1, Q2, Q3, or just qualifying?
I'll take Q1, Q2, Q3. Yeah.
You reckon FP1, FP2, FP3, Q1, Q2, Q3, and the race are all going to be dirty?
Everyone's going to crash. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll let you have just qualifying. Or we'll have rain
where people can't do it properly.
So FP1, FP2, FP3,
qualifying and race.
Specified.
Okay.
I'll allow it. We have specified. Tommy, your two.
Vettel will be on pole, but won't win the race.
Okay.
Actually, there was an interesting stat. Only 7 races have been won by the person not on pole so far this season.
Oh, so quite a lot.
Just because Bottas has started on pole for most of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I was about to swear. And balls it up.
This is getting to the end of the pole. Balls it up. Okay. And second one?
Perez will be best of the rest.
Good one. Let's write a 0 in there
Yeah, let's write a 0 in there.
Nice.
Right
you will be surprised.
Fans, Levicious X wet qualifying.
Well, it's Spa.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very safe bet. That's a Jess prediction, that is. CFC_Craig. Sainz will overtake Gasly in the Drivers' Championship. That's
possible.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And Fathan Askar, turn 1 crash after lights out. So lap 1.
Oh, so they're going for because last year, obviously, there was the Charles incident.
I like the way they specified after lights out.
Not before.
Not before.
Yeah.
Didn't Maldonado Maldonado when
when
there was the big 2012 crash with Grosjean, but Maldonado jumped the start on pretty much the third light. It was amazing. You should watch it. It's so good.
Oh my god.
It was a good start.
I miss you.
Cool.
Right. We've also had some very exciting news, which has come out recently.
We have.
Of our acquisition with Dennis Publishing.
Yes.
So we've had a couple of questions, so we thought we would basically outline what it means and what's going to be happening, basically. So Ethan Football F1 says, what is Dennis Publishing and why have they acquired WTF1?
I love that. Why have they acquired
Acquired. Jess, you're the head of WTF1. Why don't you cover this one?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, throw it in.
So Dennis Publishing is a rather large publishing house in the UK, and they've got titles, a lot of automotive titles like Evo, Auto Express, and Car Buyer, which are all massive, great big automotive titles. But they are they're very much looking to move away from print only and move very much into digital. And they basically see us, along with Car Throttle, who is our sister and parent company, that we are the experts in social content in our industries. So very much want to... I think the main bullet point is that business is as usual. Like, nothing really will change. The main thing is we're still going to be WTF1. You're still going to see us. It's still going to be...
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you're still going to be stuck with Matty and Tommy and me and Dan and everybody else that works behind the scenes at WTF1. But the main thing is it gives us so much more resource. That means that Tommy can finally have a day off.
Yep.
No.
And we can just do more of what we want to do, because I think the main thing is like we do so much with not a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of people realise quite how much it takes to do what,
so when
what we do.
people ask about the podcast and say, like, why is it taking so long, and don't realise that you've done
We've got like
Internet Best Reactions today.
exactly
We've all
that.
got our own jobs to do.
Exactly
We're all doing
that.
this, and then we have got to take 2 hours out to sit and do this.
Yeah, exactly. The whole WTF1's been run by 6 people for quite some time now, and that's not just that; it's the website and everything else. So
absolutely. But I think the really important thing is that the reason they bought us is because they love what we do and how we do it, and our mentality will never change. We want to bring fans of motorsport and new fans of motorsport the best entertainment that we possibly can. And I think this gives us an amazing opportunity to be able to just go that next level where we maybe were held back a little bit before, just purely because of our size and scale and resource. So we're massively excited. I think all of our fans should be massively excited, because what it's hopefully going to give us is just the opportunity to just do bigger and better things.
Onwards and
So
upwards.
yeah,
Absolutely.
onwards and
Yeah.
upwards.
yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. I think the key point, as Jess says, is that we will never change who we are. We're WTF1,
We are.
and the reason why you watch what we do is because you love what we do, and that's not
We
going to change.
hope.
So
I thought that was
Please
going to be
don't.
your sign.
otherwise, why the hell are you still here? But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, hopefully we'll have some very exciting content very, very soon, and that kind of brings us to the end of this podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
Got a new karting series coming out in the summer break, so get ready for that. That should be good fun with Jack Aitken.
And listen to our audio-only podcast.
And That Time When?
That time when. So like motorsport, unusual races and all that kind of stuff that we
Yep.
talk about.
So
Yeah.
look out
We're
for
not
that
on summer break.
No,
The
no.
teams
What's the
This
summer
is usually
break?
when it's even more busy. So
We're
we're like, now
not.
what do we talk about? So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in 3 weeks' time for the Belgian Grand Prix. Bye.
Bye.